Hi. Hi. I hope everything is all right. Sorry. Started talking and getting bored already. I'm going to try. My voice is not very good today. Now, today I want to talk about something that I think it's important. It's a problem that is not an exclusive to the UK, but in the UK it's at a level that it's twice as much as in the rest of Europe. Okay, there are social inequalities in many countries in Europe. There are social inequalities in the country where I live, Portugal. There are social inequalities in Spain, in France, in Germany. The level differs. However, the UK, even after Brexit, still has a lot of money. This is why they have the GDP they have. But the issue here is how is that wealth distributed and who pays for it? If you look and I please ask you to look for it. If you look at the graph on the wealth distribution of the UK, you will find that 50 families control much more than half of the total wealth of the country. 50 families. I won't quote names because I don't want to offend anyone. People might think I'm persecuting them or something like that, and I will have none of that. But you can just simply Google it. Google who are the billionaires in the UK, or use whatever search engine you use, and you will find it. And there are about 32 million people in the UK that are either middle class or lower middle class or poor. And those people, those mere 50 families, they control more than half of the wealth in your country. I will say this again because it's important for you to hear it. Those 50 families control half, more than half, much more than half of the fortune of your entire country. Meaning, when you see those nice numbers in the budget, you know, the profits of that GDP, of that production of wealth, goes to a very restricted number of people. And if you still believe in Reaganomics and in trickle down economy and all of that shit, then you are very either stubborn or naive. It doesn't work. It doesn't dribble down. It just stays up there. They use that wealth to accumulate more wealth, wealth, wealth. This is why back in 1990, I think, you had around 15 billionaires. And now you have more than 100, perhaps almost 200, profiting mainly in property, finance, and banking. Those are the main avenues of growth, meaning these are activities that don't produce jobs. They produce some jobs, of course. Rich people need maids, they need bankers, okay? They need to buy new cars, they need drivers, they need chauffeurs, they need all of that. But the issue here is they are just accumulating obscene quantities of wealth, and that wealth is not being used in society. There are some that defend that wealth, even the having wealth, should have a limit. I'm one of those persons. I am all for I am all for capitalism. I am all for breeding competition amongst companies to produce better products. I'm all about that. It is highly beneficial for society. Okay, you don't want some kind of Soviet-like society where nothing evolves, everything is stale and sterile. But you do need some control. You cannot have an oligarchy like in the U.S. The U.S. is an oligarchy right now. It's not a democracy, and the UK is the same. It's an oligarchy. It's not a democracy. And there are a couple of countries in Europe, Hungary, for example, but that is wavering as an example. Okay, and you of course we have Russia, that is a total authoritarian oligarchy system. It seems that right now Putin is taking over fortune, so maybe that will change to a full-blown authoritarian regime. But it's already one. Let's not talk about them. Uh, the issue here is this: Mr. Starmer's government, and I will say this, and I know what he has been doing, and I have told that he, as a foreigner, he disappointed me. But Mr. Starmer is going after things like benefits for whatever reason he is justifying it, is going after benefits of the lower society, benefits for the heating subsidies, all of that. He's cutting them, and he's also trimming in other areas of the state. He knows the state has to be reduced. The UK has a state that is too large, but it's too large and ineffective because you don't want a minimum state in an American style, like they want to make and what they are doing. You don't want that. You want a state that is effective, where the services work, where those that are in government control. And in most of Europe, one of the things that was done was placing the political parties, the political forces, not under the financial support of the donors or lobby groups, but on the state itself. Meaning, like in Portugal, these are subsidized for their existence. All the work that is done between the parties, like campaigns and all of that, okay, that is all done by volunteers or party members. What does this do? This creates the fact that we have politicians that are elected, but they don't owe anything to any company. And if it is proven they are being subsidized, let's call it like this, by them, then they will be expelled. They cannot they cannot be financially interested. It's a public service, even if it comes with its perks, of course. If you have a guy that was the prime minister, of course, after finishing his job, this is a person that will be invited for events. This is a person that will give lectures. This is a person that might go and work for a company because it's a person that has knowledge on how things work in the state and that they might benefit from it. But it's all out in the open, okay? And make no mistakes, okay? You can have parties that defend lobbyist positions. For example, you can have a party that defends environmental interests, that defends, for example, religious interests, that defends economical interests, whatever, you know. But you as a voter, I know that if I vote in that party follows that party, supports those ideas, and will try to implement them. For example, it will try to implement more greener policies, all of that. The key issue here is we know. If you hear noises, I'm sorry, but I live in a city and I have to, with this heat, I need to keep my windows open. Okay? But in the UK, no. You have groups of people that donate astronomical amounts of money to parties and to people. You have reform being subsidized by who knows who. And I know you are going to say, oh, it's only not all in the open. They give the list of the donors. Okay. Yes. All right. Do you also believe in the tooth fairy, Santa Claus? Do you know how easy it is to give money to someone without you knowing where it comes from? If here in Europe, where we have extremely strict rules, we have detected that, what do you think it happens in a place like the UK without any surveillance or control over those things? But let's go back to the beginning of the video. My issue here is, why isn't Mr. Starmer doing things like charging taxes over wealth, over bank dividends, over inheritance taxes, over all of it? You're going to say, oh, then everyone will pay. No, you can establish a threshold. For example, if a property is worth, for example, a simple apartment, okay, the government can say, look, up until this value, a normal house, uh, a normal apartment, people should not pay taxes over this. And then you are going to tell me also, what is the meaning of this? I already purchased the property. Why should I pay taxes over it? Around here, we have property tax on everything, and we are also discussing ending the property tax on certain value of houses in order to promote more house building that we need, and also to encourage people to buy houses in a sense of reducing the price of the houses by reducing the the expenses that come with it. So you can do it. But the issue here is this. You have a person that has dozens of properties, of high value estates that he might rent, that he might just leave there to accumulate wealth, to increase in value, to rent out to businesses, to sell to other people, and he earn money. That person has that house. If you tax that house, if you tax that property, that will force that person to make the money that they have invested in that property to circulate. If for let's give a very down to earth example. If for example, I don't know, Mr. G's has 5 properties. He rents those 5 properties, and he has to pay property tax on those 5 properties. Okay, and for example, it's 500 pounds for the 5 properties, and he either has to reason the or increase. Sorry, missing the words. Increase the price of the renting, He will just, for example, just keep the three properties that he has that are values that are valuable, and he's going to sell the other two. This is a simple example. Okay, the property tax also can be applied to farming. For example, make a rule, for example, like here, that when the farmer is working the land, the farm is producing, and it can be just forest products. Okay, wood, I don't know, wood, tourism business, whatever, but it's producing something. If a farmer does that, the price, let's call it, of the property tax will be reduced. You can even simply remove property tax from the farmers that are working the land, but you will charge those idiots that were marching up and down with the farmers, like if they are like they are farmers and not just property owners. But you will charge those guys that are investing their money in property. You are going to charge the hell out of them. Then you will tell me, "Oh, the rich will leave. The rich will leave." So what? Do you need more parasites? Haven't you got enough parasites? No, they won't leave, you bloody fool. If they are making money, they will stay. No worries. Oh, they are going to move to another country that will give them. So what? Again, I say, so what? If you have more housing for your citizens, if you have more jobs for your citizens, if more businesses are able to pop up because they are not under this system of I own the properties and I will only rent to who I want, or I only sell to whom I want, or you want to buy this and I'm going to raise the price so you cannot do it. You cannot buy it. Okay? To As I said, this is not just a problem of the UK. Hmm? To a lower level that also exists in Europe. It exists here, right here where I live, in my country. The issue here is that the government has leverage and has laws and regulations. I will give you an example. Who owns your media companies? Who puts Mr. Farage every day on the telly, like you say? Who is constantly promoting these narratives, these fears? Who is constantly seeing how many immigrants are arriving at the beaches without talking about why they are there? How many solutions did the EU propose to the UK after Brexit in order to avoid this situation everyone knew would happen? Right now, it appears that they are renegotiating it again. But do you think the countries where those people entered to in the EU will accept that France returns them back? Do you really think that? Do you really think that that will pass the parliament? No, it won't. You are going to have to accept this situation. You have migrants, you have to process. France offered for you to build a center in Calais at your expenses. This is not a EU problem, this is a EU problem. France is already doing you a favor. If you could build the bloody center in Calais, and then migrants arrive, you decide you can stay. No, you are going to be deported. Look, you could deport each and every person that enters in your country. But what do? They don't go to a center, they go to a bloody hotel. And then you take years to process them, and you expect those people to stay there, quiet, in perhaps in a room or sitting down, and You expect many of them not to start a life of crime, not to start a life of working illegally. You expect the problem to solve for itself. And the problem doesn't solve for itself like that. You have to accept that this is happening and you have to solve it. And you cannot continue to listen to dumb people that every time you ask for their policies, the only thing they can say is migrants, 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 migrants. Sovereignty, 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 sovereignty. When you don't look at the real problem, that is wealth. And look, and if you, again, I'm going to say this again because I seem to have to keep on repeating it, because people don't seem to understand it. Like I told you, I like capitalism. I think capitalism, if controlled by the state, is a good thing. It's a good system. I don't like communism. I don't like any of those theories because they are theories and they don't work. And people keep on telling me, oh, they didn't work because the Soviet Union was this and was that. Look, shut up. It doesn't work. You want to know why it doesn't work? Human nature. You have to give a leverage to people to be individualistic and sometimes to be selfish, sometimes to want, for example, their own business, their own space, their own things, a state that does not keep on pounding rules and oh we're a collective, oh we're a family, oh we're a teamwork. No, you cannot do that. Humans are gregarious to a limit. Okay? Let me just close the door. My kitty has just entered too greatly. The house is all hers. Little princess. Now, as I was saying, humans need room. You need your look. Think about yourself. You need your space. Even if you have a family, sometimes you need that space that is yours, that time that is yours. And you might think, oh, this is selfish. No, you would be selfish if you don't assume your responsibilities. But if you assume your responsibilities, for example, like me, if you work every day, pay your taxes, if you help your family, if you sustain some parts of your family, then why shouldn't you have, for example, your little space and your little time? It's stupid to think if you it's stupid to think that you wouldn't have the right to do it. And communism, it crushes individuality, just like authoritarian regimes. Okay, uh, you when it comes to authoritarian regimes, be it an economic oligarchy like in the United States, be it what is happening now in Russia, be it what happens in China, they are all the same. Sorry, this is hay fever because of the heat. They are all the same. They want to crush your individuality. And in certain countries, like in the UK, they do it with wealth. The rich are always on top, the establishment, and you are always downstairs. Well, and since the time of H.G. Wells, the writer, that was also a political activist, people have been telling you this. A rich person is no better and no worse than you. A rich person can perfectly be rich. I have no problem with people that are rich, as long as they are not exploiting or stealing from anyone. Why would I be jealous about a person that has a nice house or a nice car? A nice car? That would be very stupid. Oh, why can I? Well, there are multiple reasons because you cannot have it. As long as there are fair conditions, why not? And now the cat leaves. and leaves the door open. Sorry. No. Okay? There is nothing wrong in having wealth, but having obscene amounts of wealth that allow you to do things like twist the functioning of a state, we have to ban that completely. How do we do it? We tax it. Simple as this. Do you really think those people that are amassing, and you will say, oh, they are going to get their money and go somewhere else? Well, who cares? There will be someone else's problem. The ones that want to make money, and if you have been listening, for example, if you have been listening to the millionaires of Britain, you will know this is true. Even they want a solution to this problem because this is crushing your economy. Okay, it's not look Brexit. You have that issue of the trading problems with Europe. Have you will have those problems for a long time. For now, you could solve things like, for example, media control with good laws. No, Ofcom does nothing. Okay, you need straightforward and harsh laws. Like I have said this in many videos, and I will say it again. Around here, I can see the same piece of news in different channels, and I will always know the facts. I made a video about this, and I talked about the yellow car and the blue car. Okay, that for example, the fact is a yellow car crashed into a blue car. Then in each and every channel that I watch, I will know the fact. The reporter will tell this today at this hours in this street, blah blah blah. A yellow car crashed into a blue car, right? And then they can give me their opinion. They can say this street is prone to traffic accidents because of this and that. The blue cars have been known for stalling on occasion, so perhaps the car stalled and the yellow car hit him. No, no problem, okay? And reporters will give their opinion, and that's their journalistic freedom to do so. That is one of the parts they represent. But if you look at the same news in the UK or in the US, they will not tell you that. They will not tell you that. They will give you a narrative. For example, a firebrand preacher will appear and say, you know that yellow cars are the spawn of the devil. That that evil yellow car, he was going to strike the blue car because blue cars are the span of God. They are holy and they are precious. Or no, no, it was the illegal immigrants that were in the yellow car, allegedly, that hit the blue car. Because in the blue car there were a bunch of agencies of the border services, and they wanted to kill them. Okay, this is how they do it. And if you see the same news, okay, if for example, uh, France 24, for example, it's a good example, or Euronews, or a German channel, or if you can speak Portuguese or Spanish, Portuguese or a Spanish channel. If you can do that, if you can compare the same exact fact in different news, you will see the difference on how the reporting is done. You want to know what the consequences here are for fake news, for misinformation, or for trying to incite people to violence or whatever? They are dire. The reporter first is subjected to his own professional association that can remove his professional card, and he or she, whoever there, won't be able to be a reporter, a journalist. Then you have the government that can find the reporter, can find the news agency or whatever for whom he works, and the government can even cancel the authorizations of, for example, the TV station or the newspaper or whatever. If it's a serious offense, those people can even go to jail. It might take some time. Yes, I know. Look, uh, justice in a democratic society will always be a cumbersome thing. Whatever you say, okay, it's it's a natural consequence of being of trying to be just in a decision. But consequences exist. In the UK, what consequences do you have? What consequences are for those people that go into the news and start talking about criminal this, criminal that, he did this and he did that, and if in the end they stick allegedly, in the end there will be no consequences. What consequences are for those people? What does outcome do to them? Look, I will give you even a more prosaic example. What are the consequences to the people that go into those endless, endless inquiries into several subjects, from COVID to the fire in that tower that killed those people, you know, from the grooming gangs? What is the practical consequence? What will happen to those people? Tell me. Bloody nothing. Why does a person feel the need to first go to the newspapers to denounce the situation, instead of doing what a normal person does here, that is to go either to the equivalent of a DA, public prosecutor, to one of the cabinets that exists in all courts, or to the most normal one, to the police. You know how things process, how they are processed here. Person, for example, goes to the police, makes a formal complaint. Immediately, that complaint is registered and it goes to a magistrate. The magistrate analyzes it and decides if it's something that has any basis to be investigated or not, or it right out says no, this is not something that is worth to investigate, archive this. Or it tells the police, or whatever type of police then that can be, investigation police, to look into the business, and or the regular police look into this, uh, start investigating. They do. And that person, in this case, should not go to the court hall, to the newspapers, because that will hinder the process. Because there's an entire process behind it, and I know it sometimes can be slow, and I know any Portuguese that is listening to me will think it's painfully slow, but I know what I'm talking about, and it's not. It's slow, but it's well done. Are there errors? Sometimes, yes. Why? Because we are humans. Humans commit errors. Everyone commits bloody errors. You cannot expect um, machine-like precision from people. Nor should you expect it. Because in dealing with human relations, you need humans. You need people. that can understand the reactions of other persons, that can understand the reason why people do things. And this is one of the reasons, knowing this, that I cannot understand why isn't Mr. Starmer charging taxes where they are. The banking business hit it. The financial business hit it. Okay? Get money. Grab that money. Don't cancel the benefits for the people that need it. And grab that money and invest it in the country. Go to the EU. Try to mend this bullshit. This idiotic idea of Brexit. Will it take a long time? Yes, it will. We all know the Copenhagen criteria. And there is no diverting from it. Okay? We have the entire Balkans wanting to enter in the EU. And those people, they are doing unbelievable sacrifices and unbelievable work to be a part of us, of the EU. And then you keep hearing these little voices, oh, but the Serbs, they are the allies of Portugal. When you have Orban, I don't give a fuck about those politicians. I care about the people. Whatever differences that we have, they are fellow Europeans. They are Europeans just like me. This is the key issue here. Different cultures, but in a sense, we are all part of the same group. The British, they are a part of our group. The immigrants that come here and become a part of our society, they are a part of our group. Now, of our values of personal freedom, of individualism, Europeans have always been like this. We never like to be slaves to anyone. And now I see Europeans turning into dumb slaves in the UK and in the US. And don't consider, if you, for example, if you're a black person, look, my friend, don't take it to that side. I'm talking about slavery here. Okay? Around here in school, we learn about all of that. I'm not talking about that. You have been the victims in the US of this shit. Okay? And look, Europe, Canada, the Asian countries, Korea, uh, Japan, other countries. Look, Australia, okay, South America, okay, no, Mexico, okay. We all need to focus on being better, better than this, and better than that shit that we are seeing, okay. And we need to curtail this obscene amount of love because it's corrupting the core of democracy. And the only way we are going to do this, it's not by extortion, it's not by violence, it's not by imposing taxes and and crap blindly. No, it's to simply apply taxes where they belong. And if a person can have an immense amount of money, then that person can pay taxes on it. And if you tell me they don't want to, I don't care. They have to. Because if they are living in our countries, if they are living in UK, if they are making their money, then they have to pay taxes for it. Simple as that. And if they have property that is that is extremely, extremely valued, if they have good cars, if they had businesses, they have to pay taxes on it. Oh, but they will go away. Do you think another person won't pop up and take over the business and do it under the conditions you want them to do? You, the people, you, the state, you, the law. Are you really that naive? Tell me this. If right now the so called London Grad was dismantled in London, how long would those houses be vacant? You just have to look at things from a perspective of not what will happen, okay, but what it is. If those houses, for example, if they grab their money and they leave, they leave. You can be smart about it and tax them first before they leave out the door. What you do need is to regain control on the wealth of your own country. Because now there is no commonwealth where those people, because they were the ones that were doing it and they were giving you things so you would shut up and not lift your little noses and smell what they were doing, because there is no more commonwealth, no more empire, and no more EU, where they can drop money to try and get wealth. And coincidentally, Brexit happened precisely when, after the crash, the EU started to impose serious restraints and serious changes on the banking market, okay, on the high finance market, on all of that, on fiscal paradises and all that crap. Think about it. Like I and many others since the beginning have been saying, follow the money. If you follow the money trail, you will know who created the events. It's as simple as this. I keep telling people economics is not that complicated. Ever since I was a kid, I have loved economics. You want to know why? Because it's very simple. It seems very complex, but it's not. And I think any expert will tell you this. Again, I am not an expert, okay? I had some education on it from my professional formation and all education and all of that, but I'm not an economist. But talk to an economist. Talk with one that is not biased, okay? Like some idiots that were telling that were telling the lies before Brexit. Water, okay? Well, uh, I hope you liked the video. I hope to see you all in the next one.